welcome to another Random Code stream. I'm going to be working on this issue. The link is in the description of this stream. So hopefully this doesn't take too long. Famous last words. But I think the issue should be fairly simple to fix. And then I'm going to look at some other CSLA. I got to do something real quick to the mic stand. Let's see. Can I turn this? And let me turn it just a little bit. There. Can I? There. Hopefully that's a little bit better aiming on my voice. Okay. So let's get my music going as standard. And then I'll explain what this is doing or what this is and how we're going to fix it. So first things first, if you're going to host a repository in GitHub, make sure that you make a .github repository that has all of your templates in it that are standardized and generalized for all your repositories, so that you have an issues template, you have a pull request template, you have all these different templates. Because it forces people then to go, what is it that you're expecting? And then if they don't push a new issue in or whatever, you can just say, no, you got to reformat this to what this says. Now, this is also given to me from the guy who created CSLA and somebody I know very well, Rocky. But I mentioned this at the last stream I did yesterday, and I want to bring this up again, which is LLMs are great at spitting out a whole bunch of text. And I'm not saying this is wrong, like semantically wrong, like this information is wrong. But what I really needed to know is this. The rest of this is just superfluous noise in a way. You know, what I really, really care about is the fact that my formatter on deserialization of an object isn't calling deserialized on it right at the end if it implements this interface. And that's what it needs to do. Now, the rest of this is all description about how deserialization works in CSLA and what the steps are and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. I don't really care about that. I mean, to a certain degree. And what ended up happening is I had to go back and forth with him a little bit going, what is it that's really the problem here? I'm missing it. You know, what is it that it should do and what is it that it isn't doing? And so basically he said, well, it's got to do this. And I kind of jokingly said, internally screaming sounds good. So, hey, Electron, so this is a bug fix that I have to do, which is basically look at the object, type, if it implements this interface, then on deserialization, call deserialized on it. And that's it. So let's get into it. I have a branch already set up for this. And what is the first thing we should do? Well, we should fix it. But I'm going to add a test in. And yeah, we don't care about that kind of. What we do care about is a test like this. So let's grab that. Because what we want to see is something. Okay, so we don't care about a graph necessarily. What we want to say is this is what is this called? Serialization notification. Tests. Sure. Okay, so what we want to do here is we want to say, well, we have decided to implement serialization notification. Now, what namespace is this in? This, okay. And then we would implement it by saying public void deserialized. And we don't care what we do in it right now. That's unimportant. The important thing is on the get state right down here, we want to call it explicitly, because we don't care about if the implementer is doing it explicitly or implicitly. Casting it will always work. So we say here that it is of that type with that namespace, serialization mobile, that on this, and we call this method. And we don't pass anything into it. Now this is going to fail because we are currently not doing that. We're not picking that up. So we should see a diff in the output. As you do. Of course, it doesn't show up right away. We can see it over here. Yep. That line has a little tick mark. All right, well, let's go fix that now. I wanted to show this real quick. Hopefully I don't end up spilling my coffee while I do it. But you see this? Star Trek The Experience, Las Vegas, Hilton. This is, I want to say a collector's item, but, and I'm afraid to like break it. But I got this. Well, the cup says 1997, but I think I went there in 1998. My wife, we got married in 1997. We didn't go to Vegas for like a honeymoon or anything. But the next year, she went down for a week to visit her sister who was living in South Carolina at the time. Well, one of her sisters. And me and a friend of mine from college, we drove from Wisconsin to Colorado to meet up with another friend of ours from college. And then from there, we spent a day or two at Colorado Springs because he works in the Air Force. And I don't know what he does in the Air Force, but that's what he does. And so he had time off. So we went like hiking in the mountains. We golfed a couple times. Then we drove from Colorado Springs to Vegas. And we spent a couple days there. And that's one of the things we did is we went to the Star Trek Experience. And that was really weird because you'd walk around and there'd be people that were dressed up as like Klingons. And I was like recording something with a camera I had. And all of a sudden you see coming from the right, this woman Klingon like going, what information are you taking down? I was like, oh, jeez. It was pretty funny. Anyway, so yeah, that's my little coffee cup, and that's now getting on almost 30 years old. It's not around anymore. They got rid of it, sadly. But it was when Vegas was trying to be more kid friendly at the time, and we basically just were walking around the strip for like a day. And this was one of the places we wanted to go. So, all right. Anyway, enough nostalgia. Let's actually build this in. So the builders, where would we do this? I'm thinking, and thinking is a good thing. We probably need, I'm betting somewhere within here. We are emitting that whole string. Yeah. So we have to determine if it's requires notification. Okay, so we went on the model somewhere. Public bool requires notification. Perfect. Of course, now we need to actually set that. And we can easily do that here by saying requires notification. Does it derive from this? Yeah. Okay. Now, unfortunately, what I'm just realizing is that we do a lot of copy and paste of stuff. Like if it implements metastate, is basically where we're also going to want to do what we're doing. So I'm kind of seeing something where I'm like, are we repeating ourselves? Which kind of sucks, but I'm kind of wondering if there's a way to, well, I'm sure there's a way. There's always a way, but to yeah, because we're doing the same thing over and over again. Wouldn't it be nicer if I did something where I didn't have to remember to put this in and everything? I don't want to put on the model itself something to say to it on the indented text writer you're given doing this. Like the model to me should just be stating facts about the type that we were given. But we need something that we can say, given a model and given an indented text writer, build deserialization. A deserialization builder. And so we went in here. Something like that. Except we want it to be internal and we want it just to say build. So these are common things that occur and so we can say here now, deserialization builder build on the indent writer and the model. And then we just take these out. Now we probably could do the same thing for serializate, like a serialization builder. What did I say about stuff being like simple? It's not that this is hard, but this is trying to prevent my code from spinning out of control in a way, which is something I'm coming to the realization with rocks that I need to spend some serious refactoring time because I repeat too much code. Let's see. So on the serialization builder here, we would do that. Now in the serialization builder, we don't have to worry about doing that extra requires notification. And actually, let's be a little bit more explicit about this. It requires deserialization notification because this is only for deserialization. Okay, so we got a couple things to do, and here now we want to say as the last thing we do, Actually, let's copy this code. And then if it requires deserialization notification, we're actually going to go to our tests because that's what we want it to do. Just exactly that. Except not the space there. Let's do this. Or model is customizable, or indent writer right line. There. So we'll put the space above it if we need to do any deserialization stuff after it, or in this work. And then we'll just write out these lines if we need to do so. Nice. So in the serialization builder, we can kind of do the same thing. We can say if model dot implements metastate, or model is customizable, indent writer right line, and then we move this stuff out of here. Now we got to go in every spot that was doing this and say deserialization builder. Let's pin this for now and say deserialization build indent writer model. And we're going to grab that because we're going to get rid of all these. So we got to do this for deserialization. And then we have to do this for serialization. That's the one that we are in, so we don't need to do that. Just be... Okay, we want to say indent writer indent plus plus. And then we're going to want to say indent writer indent minus minus, because we have to be at the right level of indentation for this case. The rest of them, I think we're fine. Yeah, for some reason we did it a slightly bit differently in that one. So it's not that you, oh wait. Yeah, we want to do indent plus plus, indent writer minus minus. Okay, so we already were doing that there and there. Okay, cool. All right. Save. We can get rid of this, that. Now, anywhere where we were doing this. Wait, no. There, that makes more sense. I was like, that search is incorrect. Okay. So these are at the right one. So we want to say here serialization builder, build, indent writer model. And we'll take that and we'll pull all these out. And the same case here, indent plus plus, indent writer, indent minus minus. That's take that off. Indent writer, indent plus plus, indent writer, indent minus minus, and boom. And then that's our, okay. Save. All right. What I wanted to say there was just because you have, even if you have the exact same code, doesn't necessarily mean that you want to write like a helper method or a shared class or something like that. More often than not, it does, but shared code is not a goal. As hard as it is for me to say that, what you want is a good system. That's the goal. And sometimes you may have 3 or 4 lines of code that are the same everywhere, but trying to share that across all of them is unwieldy. Maybe. Again, in general, if you're seeing you're doing the same thing over and over again, figure out why, and then figure out, is there a way to make that common? And in this case, it made sense to have those 2 builders that were handling generalized serialization and deserialization things. Hey, factory. So let's go to our test now. And we can unpin this. So let's go to the first one we just created. Which should be this. So hopefully now these tests are all passing. Or this one is passing. And it is. So it did pick up correctly that I needed to add this in here. Now what happens if we go to here and we say run all tests? Huh. 64 failed. I wonder if it's indentation things, which would be unfortunate, but yeah. Oh, wait. It's adding this in when it shouldn't. Okay, well, we have something busted in our model. Or do all of these, because base types implement that interface, that they all are going to have that? Huh. Really? So we have a customer. Excuse me. Base type is a business base. It must think, like if I step over, that it does. But wait a minute. Oh, the metastate thing. Yes, yes, yes. Customizable. False. So it is doing the right thing. Okay. That's some crazy work. It's the fun of source generators in C#. All right, so derives from So something in here is actually implementing it. This isn't necessarily wrong. It's just it was surprising. I didn't expect that all of these. Your program, no. So if I go into here and I say it's a customer. So one of its interfaces must be this, yeah, right here. So that's interesting. I thought that was something that was being said that an object could choose to implement. Well, this is turning out to take longer, but it's mostly because I'm curious than anything else. Is there an override on deserialize? No. Where is this coming from? Okay, so God, it would be from one of these, wouldn't it? We don't know which one. Okay, so it implements a serialization notification. What do you do with it? Ah, okay, so you don't have to implement it yourself. You can if you want. But all of them do, right? I mean, I guess it's good that we have a test in here to say only do it if it's required. But it also seems like all the types, at least the ones that currently exist, have it. So I think this is showing a couple things. One is I don't think we need a separate test for this. So if I come back here, notifications, there's no reason for this because all my other tests are failing because we're adding this line in to all of them. Okay. You wouldn't do this. I mean, you could, I guess, and implement it. I'm not sure if what that exactly does. You can implement it explicitly, I guess. But either way, whether you implement it or whatever, as long as it's there, we're going to call it. So I think we can get rid of this one test, but then all the ones that are failing, we need to go in on the get state and add them in. Right. So there's like 60 odd tests, but all I have to do is add in one line of code, right? And get all the formatting correct. Okay. This is not the most exciting thing in the world to do, but this is actually not, if how do I want to say this? When I've had to update, I keep doing that. I want to go here. When I've had to update my source generators before, when like something is off, it usually is a lot of work. So used to like I have to get rid of the code, I've got to regenerate it, and then I've got to paste it in. And E.T. It sounded weird. I would guess that all of these do. Okay, E.T. You're like, what is he talking about, E.T.? It's the key binding to bring up that window. So like I said before, it's never simple, is it? Nothing is ever simple in software development. I think I just updated that one, yeah. Okay, so I think I got both of those now. This doesn't take too long, but these actually should be pulled in like that. Wait. Yeah, okay. I'm sure I'm messing up some of the formatting with these, but that is okay. This is why you write tests. I've been sick for a while, and I think I'm finally on the right path. Definitely feeling much more like myself, which is good. All right. At some point, I'm going to have to just rerun the tests and see which ones still fail for whatever reason. most boring thing in the world to watch somebody add one line of code to tests. But it needs to be done. Okay. Hello? Thought I was putting in the right keystroke, but apparently I wasn't. Okay. So let's run the tests here again. Let's see what is remaining to fix. $46. What's wrong with this? Oh, from the love of Pete. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Jeez. That is one annoying thing with doing textual matching, is that it's semantically correct. It's the same exact thing, but because I'm missing space there, it goes, well, that's just wrong. Okay, what's the... Are you kidding me? Well, this might have to be done off screen because I'm not going to bore people. I'm already bored myself. Somehow it got space there. I don't know how. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to do is probably stop the stream here anyway because I need to get over my day job. But I will fix all these tests. The thing is that I feel like this is actually showing that it's doing what it needs to do. The one thing I do want, though, is an integration test just to make sure that I am not missing this. Okay, so if we have a graph here, So what we want is we want a class that we're going to call point, because a business class needs a point. X property. A business needs a point. What is the point of our business? X. So this will be int X. And we should make these int. And then this is a point, not a pint. And then this is the Y, and we'll just stick in 2D space, okay? So what I want to test here is override deserialize, okay? And what we want to do here is we want to have a public int sum. I don't care. It get private set. Okay. Only on deserialized do we say this dot sum is equal to this dot x plus this dot y. And so the hope of why I'm doing this is we want to get a point. We want to get our point across. And so we want to say data dot x is equal to 10 and y is 20. I don't know. Okay. Now what we want to do here is assert. So we're going to want to pull this up here. Assert that data.sum is 0. We should not have set it. And then when we do a deserialize, we want to assert that sum is equal to 30. It's a simple test. And it failed. Unable to cast object. God, I hate this window. Oh, I guess, yeah, it would help if I cast it to the right thing. Still failed. It was 0, so it's not... Huh. Okay, that's interesting. Why is it not... Wait. Wait. What? Okay, I'm really confused here. There should be... There, okay, that's the one we want. Okay, well, we do pick up that you should call deserialized. fine. But we can set a breakpoint on it. What? Wait, what? Set a breakpoint. Oh, I was hitting F10, not F... Okay, never mind. No, wait, no. It's not... Okay, so this dot sum. What's the call stack? Interesting. I thought I put a breakpoint there. But it is... Okay, fine. It is calling deserialized, and it is getting to this. Okay. But it's still failing. Why? Okay, so we say deserialize. We get a deserialize call to happen. And that's happening because, again, we have now set those. So we're now saying this dot sum. Oh, God. I'm just being an idiot. There. Yeah, I just copy pasta strikes again. So this shows that we initially get, it doesn't calculate it unless it deserializes. And since it had it as 10 and 20, you add them up, you get 30. So I just want to make sure that that code was there and that we are calling deserialize like we are doing right now. So we are doing the right thing. So what I need to do now is go back and change all those tests just to have the formatting and that one line of code in there correctly. And that's boring to do. And I don't want to subject anybody to do that. So let's put in 43 added code to ensure deserialized is called. It was just a little unexpected that I thought it was something you have to opt into, but of course, what Rocky's going to say is that, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Yeah, all major classes implement it, and then protected virtual pattern, yeah, calls it here. So it's like, well, you should have read that. I had it all in there, but I think there was just a lot of, saying if it implements it, but if all of them do, then you could just assume to call it, but that's not the right thing to do. You want to ensure that the interface actually implements it. And if it does, then just call it. It just so happens that all of them implement it with this. They implement it explicitly, and then they call this method that you can override, like what I'm doing here, to do that deserialized stuff. It is what it is, but we are doing the right thing right now. So I did commit that right. Yes. Okay. So I will finish up that work sometime today and hopefully get a bug fix patch out there that this is handled correctly. So simple. Ended up taking an hour anyway, and I still got some more work to do, but this does fill a hole that was there technically. So in any event, I do want to do more work on this in terms of what happens if you have business rules in play. What about some other data types that are in CSLA that we should be concerned about? Do they serialize correctly? is all that good. And I just don't know. I don't know if I have enough tests around everything, and don't want to rely upon people telling me something doesn't work. I'd like to be a little bit more proactive and start to figure out what are some things I can address before it gets too far down the road. In any event, I am done for now. I want to thank everybody who stopped by, either live or in the future. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will be doing a gaming stream tomorrow night, Alien Rogue Incursion, and continue playing that game. And I don't know when the next time I'm going to do a random code stream, but as the name says, it's random. So whenever I feel like it, I will be doing another one. But with that, I'm going to end this stream. Thank you all for watching. Take care, and I hope to see you in the future.